Hey guys, this is Dawn, and you are watching or listening to This Little Light, the podcast where we expose the lies of the enemy and we also shed light on topics that the church has left in the dark. If you like what you are hearing, make sure that you have gone ahead and subscribed on YouTube and also liked the video as well, and that you have followed along on your favorite streaming platform, whatever that may be, whether it be Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music Podcast, Apple Podcast, Anchor, whatever you prefer. Make sure that you have followed along there, and also make sure that you have checked out the This Little Light Facebook page, where you can find sweet merchandise like this shirt that I personally made for you guys. Pretty much actually made for myself, just because I figured out I could. So if you are interested in that, by all means, go over to the Facebook page and like that page as well. Also, you are missing out on some great conversation, just midday or midweek updates from me about stuff that the Lord is kind of showing me throughout the week. Last but not least, I need to say thank you to those who have followed along faithfully since the beginning and those who are coming into this. I never knew coming into Facebook and then like Anchor and then Spotify and all of these platforms and then YouTube what to expect, but the Lord has shown up and showed out, and I am so thankful for that. I am so thankful for each and every one of you who take time each week to listen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Now, this week's episode, this one's going to be a little heavy, guys, but I feel like it's the route to go, and I wasn't going to go this route to begin with. But after much thought and consideration, I think it's the way to go. This week, we're going to be talking about depression and depression in the church and the lie of the enemy there that it's not real and that it doesn't happen. That is the lie. That is a lie straight from the pits of hell. Depression is very real, and it does happen in the church. And I am going to talk from a standpoint of just being someone who has observed, and then someone who has walked through their own bouts of depression, who has been dealing with depression for 20 some years. So you're going to hear from a leadership standpoint in the church, like just some observation. Obviously, you're going to hear from the word, and then you're going to hear from me personally. So we're going to kick it off with Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemy. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Once again this week, this house of feels. Oh, goodness. And I'm not talking from a place of feeling this week. I am talking from a place of reality. Jared Wilson, when that happened, when he took his own life, I was floored. Completely floored. COVID made being... COVID, I hate COVID. I hate COVID so much because so much came from it, and the enemy so used that as his like playing field. But the reality of being alone in isolation, when you're alone and you get alone by yourself with your thoughts, when you're alone with your thoughts, it is hard to win that battle. It's hard to win the battle with your thoughts. That is why it is so important that we have to be consumed with the word, and the word has to be consumed with us. I'm not saying that's a cure-all. It is, though. It is, absolutely. Let me say that. The word is our cure-all. He is our cure-all. We are healed. We are whole. We have been redeemed. We have been restored. We have been made new. But sometimes our stories have to be walked out here on earth to bring him glory. And the things that he does through us us. That's not for us. It's for others around us, for those to see the glory of God that he gets from that. But when Jared Wilson took his own life, I was shocked. Because if you followed along on his Instagram, he never seemed like someone who would do that. Like, I knew that he had struggled with depression, and those were things that he had said, but I never knew the reality of it was that deep. And it forced me to take a look at some things that I had been going through. And in doing that, it made me take a deeper dive into what the church looks at and how the church handles depression and its leaders. And I'm not saying that it does, I'm going to start crying, that it doesn't do it well, because the church has come such a long way in this. But we as the church, those who make up the church, we need to take a step back and look at our leaders and look at them and say, okay, guys, we see you. We see you. We don't see the man or woman of God. We just see you as a person right now. We see the struggles that you are going through. We see that you are just a person, just like we are. And we are holding you to these standards that we can't hold you to anymore. We have just as much fault in putting things on leaders as the enemy does. We are critical. We are mean. People in their just flesh, in their nature, in their human nature, are not just overall kind and warm fuzzies. Is every pastor going to get it right? Absolutely not. Is every pastor going to at some point say something that's going to offend you? Probably. And it's in you and how you handle that, because sometimes the burdens and expectations that we put on people, it's not fair and it's not okay. Matthew 11:28. We're going to read that. Let me turn to that real quick. I have it pulled up. Then Jesus said to them, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." He doesn't ask our pastors or our leaders in the church to carry these huge, heavy burdens. He just asks them to go and do and be who he calls them to be and who he has called them to be and has placed them in a position to be. Now, in our flesh, we take on things that are not ever ours to take on. We know that, and that's a lie straight from the pits of hell. And that is something that we have to get to with the Lord. That is why Sabbath, rest, is so important. One of our 10 commandments is remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, what does Sabbath mean? Let me pull this up. Sabbath is just a day of rest and worship. And every day should start out as a day of rest and worship. He is our go-to. He is our beginning and he is our end. He's our everything. In the beginning, and he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and end, the author and finisher of our faith. So why wouldn't we begin our day with him and then end our day with him? He is our rest. He's our sabbatical. Now, do we need to physically take some time away and just decompress and compose and just get it together? Absolutely. Because if you don't do that, let me tell you, the Lord will do it for you. He will make you ask me how I know, because that was my week this week. Your girl broke her foot a couple of years ago, stepped off a curve and broke my foot wrong. Like, I just stepped wrong and broke my foot. But same thing happened again this week. Now, was my foot broken this time? Nope. But it forced me to stay at home this week and rest. Work from home, not go and just get so consumed with my day to day and so busy. It put things back into a perspective that my perspective has shifted, and it made me realize that is why I have been feeling the way that I have been feeling lately. Now, let me say this. Our work is important, and the things that we do is so we are important. People are important. Our jobs are important. The things that God has gifted us with and our responsibilities that he's gifted us with and the people that he has called us to be, those things are important. But you know what is super important? Your mental health. That is super important. And sometimes we have to take a breather. We can't carry other people's burdens. He never asked us to. He only asks us to carry his burden, and his burden is light. He says that. He asks us to take it upon ourselves, to take what he gives us and nothing more. His expectation of us is not nearly the expectation of others. And that is where we as the church have got to take a step back and say, you know what? It's not okay that we demand all these things of other people and expect all these things of other people, because they're flesh. They're flesh just like we are. They are just flesh and bones who love the Lord like we do. And we have got to get to the place where we're okay with our walk and just our walk alone. Not in what's coming out of someone else's mouth, not what is coming out of my mouth, not what is coming out of your mouth, but what our relationship, personal relationship is with the Lord. Because the demands and expectations we are placing on people are a lot. And I know even in my things, I have been so critical of some people, and I'm so sorry that it's come across that way, going back and listening to other things, or the church as a whole. Life is hard, guys, but it doesn't have to be. Now, am I saying don't go get help when you're anxious or when you're having these bouts of depression? Gosh, no. Jesus gives doctors wisdom to help you walk through things. Just like that very, very viral Facebook post. It's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too. It absolutely is. You got to have those people that you can talk to. You've got to have those friends that you know that you can go to that feel like your therapist. You've got to have accountability. You've got to be completely transparent with people, because when you're not transparent with people, people don't know what you're carrying. People can't come alongside you. Do you know what a yoke is? A yoke is a thing, like a big wooden thing that they put on like horses, or I guess cows too, or donkeys, when you're working in a garden, right? So you have a yoke. One donkey would be on one side. We're going to say donkey for the sake of that. But one donkey will be on one side and one donkey will be on the other. And together, the yoke, they can do work together. They can pull a plow together. Guys, we need each other. We have to have each other. This walk was never meant to do with just you and the Lord. It's meant to do with others. The church needs each other. We need people. And our leaders, we've got to start giving them some grace. Not giving them all kinds of grace. We got to hold them accountable. Absolutely. I'm not saying just let them go do whatever all willy-nilly. No, I'm saying that we have to walk this out with them. When we see that there's an issue, we have to be willing to go up to them and be like, hey, so how's it going? Or just go up to our pastors and be like, you know what? Thank you. Go up to our leaders, our deacons, our elders, your children's pastors. Goodness gracious, or going up to your service coordinators, whoever it is, your worship pastors, and being like, you know what, thank you for pouring in. Because there's that one saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't. It's impossible. I know these things. This week has put so much into perspective for me. This week, to take time to just be at home with no one else, just me and Jesus, and working and getting things done and going through my day. Guys, life is hard, and we make it harder. We make it so much harder than it has to be. This week has been good for me. Getting hurt has been good for me. I know that sounds insane, but it was good for me to take back that time and just see, goodness, I'm a blessed woman. I am so blessed. And I have been so mean and critical about some things. And the Lord never asked me to do that. He just asked me to serve him and set aside some time for him. wake up, my day begins with him. Holy Spirit, what do we get to do today? What do you have for me to do for you today? How can I be like Jesus to someone today? And in my day with, thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, God, that you gave me another chance to serve you, to love you, to worship you, to be with you, to look like Jesus with skin on, to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Thank you. That this week, guys, I'm telling you, this little sabbatical, my little sabbatical that the doctor said I need, like, you can't be on your feet. For those of you who don't know, I work in a daycare. I am the staff daycare director for the church that I attend. And if you work with children, you know. And when you're hurt, working with children is hard. There's a lot of hands-on activities, So sometimes just sitting down and being like, God, I can't do this. I can't do this without you. I've tried to do it and I can't do it. But let's get into our leaders for a second. I do want to say something. Reading Psalm 23, your leaders, the people around you, are going through a valley. They're going through valleys they'll never talk about. So it's up to you to go up to them and be like, hey, are you good? And not trying to get all up in their business, not trying to do it to be nosy, but just making sure that you are going up to people and you're checking on those that the Lord has placed on your heart. He's placing them on your heart for a reason. Go to your friends. Go to those you surround yourself with, that you do life with. Go into those and being like, hey, man, is there anything that I can pray with you about or pray with you right now? What is it that you need? Let's put this yoke on together and let's do this together. Because those valleys that he takes, that you will go through, he never promised that it would just be all hills. No, mountaintops. No. He never promised that. Let's go back to Psalm 23 for a second. Let's read it. The Lord is my shepherd. What is a shepherd? A shepherd is someone who guides and leads. I shall not be in want. Why shall I not be in want? Because the Lord has everything. He guides and leads. Why should I be in want or need for anything when I have the shepherd and I'm a sheep and I know his voice? Why should I be in want? He makes me lie down in green pastures. Did you hear that? He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his namesake. Guys, he does it all. He's our end all be all. Not us, not our jobs, not our leaders, not the people that we surround ourselves with. Him. He is it. And when we are dealing with hard things in life, like I'm not saying that you're not going to deal with hard things, because you are. Where do we put our focus? It's okay to take a little pill, because depression is a chemical imbalance. Anxiety is a chemical imbalance. And sometimes those things just happen. It can happen with hormones. It can happen with whatever. Sometimes your body just shifts. And it's not saying that you're not going to the good shepherd and he's not leading you. He's not guiding you. Sometimes he's going to lead you to a doctor who's going to help you quiet your soul. Guys, it's okay. It's okay to have big feelings. It's okay to go to someone and say, you know what? Let me walk this out with you. It's okay to go to a doctor and be like, you know what? I've done everything I can do. I've come to the end of me. Now I need some help. I've taken it to the Lord. And there are Christian-based counselors out there for a reason, because we all know life gets hard. And sometimes you have to go outside of your circle because you can't trust those in your circle. Let's be very real. I know you have to have those solids that you can go to, but sometimes those solids are going to betray you. Ooh. And when those solids betray you, it gets hard and it hurts. And that's why you need people sometimes outside of your circle that you can go to and be like, hey, I'm dealing with some stuff. I need to talk this out with somebody. Help me. Take me to the word. Help me, because I can't get past this point. I don't know what to do. And I am so thankful that I have someone in my life. I have a psychiatrist. I have a psychiatrist that I see every month. Do you know why? Because there are people who were never meant to carry my burdens, that I'm not going to place those burdens on. But I can go to her because she's a faith-based psychiatrist, and God has given her the wisdom to walk hard things out with people, that he's allowed her this opportunity to come alongside people and help guide them, help her guide people like me who just can't do it sometimes. It gets so heavy. It gets so heavy and it gets so hard with the expectations and demands that people place on you. Life is hard, but he quiets your soul, and sometimes he brings people in to do that, and that's okay too. Let's go back into Psalm 23 for a second. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Guys, it's okay. It's okay to go through those hard things, but know who walks along with you. You don't have to be afraid. And we talked about fear being a chemical reaction to, oh gosh, I'm going to mess this up. Flight or freeze. I know that's not right. But you know what I'm saying. Fear is that reaction as well. Fear is a chemical reaction to something that God has placed in you. But God created it so God can maintain it. He's with you. God never asked you to walk through anything alone. We choose to walk through things alone. We choose to not include him in our things, in our day to day. When we wake up, when we really take into reality for like all that it is, that he's the author and the finisher. He is with us in the beginning and he's with us in the end. He's with us in our junk. He's with us when we're coming out of our junk. He leads us through it. He guides us through it. And that's okay. And I know these last couple of episodes have been like, oh, your soul and your feelings. But it's important. It is so important. The things that I've had to walk through lately, it's been one of those things that I'm just like, God, what is happening? Everything that I knew that has been going on around me, everything that can be shaken has been shaken for me. And it has been one of the hardest seasons of my life. And I have lost both of my parents and been divorced. Like, I'm telling you, finding out who's really for you and who's there with you and who's going to walk through things with you, and it's been tough, guys, but I'm telling you right now, he has never left me. He has never forsaken me. He never will. He leads me. He prepares a table for me and for you in the presence of your enemies, and you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid of what tomorrow is going to bring. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You don't have to be carrying these heavy burdens he never asked you to carry alone. He is our yoke. When we're trying to find those people to surround ourselves with, or that therapist that we need to go to, or that psychiatrist that we need to go to, he's our yoke, and he's going to lead us and he's going to guide us wherever it is that he is trying to take us, into those people who he will allow to come into our lives to help us through those really hard things. I love him, and I love how he works. He is so good, and he is so faithful. He is so faithful, y'all. And he never asks us to do it alone. So I want to remind you today, you don't have to do it alone. He didn't ask you to do it alone. I know life is hard. Life, especially since we have been in this pandemic, and things have been tough. Things have been so tough. Things have been hard. But you know what? Psalm 126. This has been my go-to a lot here lately too. Those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy. Your joy is coming, and his mercies are new every morning. Every morning we get a do-over. We get a redo. And that is amazing. All we have to do is just ask him to get me through today, God. All you have to do is get me through this day, each step, each morning. And you know what? Those really hard seasons, joy is coming. Joy is coming. Remember what I said? Your Sunday is coming. Sunday is coming. Joy is coming. Joy comes in the morning. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. I've been going back to that song a lot. Oh. He makes all things work together for the good of those who love him. And you are no exception. You are so loved by your Creator. It's hard to even put in words sometimes. Sometimes when you feel really alone, trust me, I know from my own experience, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, who could love this? But your Heavenly Father created you with purpose and with destiny, and He has great plans for you. And you don't ever have to walk this out alone. You don't have to. So the lie of the enemy that says that you are completely alone, no, friend. He walks through everything with you. He's already walked through it for you. Everything that you have had to walk through and that you will walk through, He knows. And he's going to ask you to do really hard things. He's never going to put more on you than you can stand. No, He will. He absolutely will. But He knows you can stand it. He knows you can stand it because He did it for you. That's why He endured the cross. You don't have to go through it alone. So that's all I have to say about that, because I could go on and on and on and on and on and keep going on about this, because it's something that's so near and dear to my heart, because there's been really hard seasons in my life where I've had to walk things out alone. Well, I chose to walk them out alone, and I should have never not allowed the Lord into those situations. And knowing what I know now, I will never walk through any hard thing without Him guiding me, Him leading me, Him being the good shepherd, and me just being the little sheep that knows His voice and follows along, and He guides me wherever it is that I need to go. And He will do the same thing for you, friends. He doesn't ask you to do it alone. And I want you to remember that. He doesn't ask you to do it alone. You are not in this battle alone. You're not in your battle alone. You're not in your junk alone. You're not in your garbage alone. He leads you. He guides you. I love you. I am praying for you. And I hope that you have the most amazing